Hello and welcome to the very first episode in 2026 of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby, my dear friend, and who used to be number one fan, Oliver Ord. Ollie, hey.
Just pour that salt on the wound immediately, right off from the get-go. I am still your number one fan. I have my
Oh,
mug to prove it.
I have to say two things about that for listeners. Anyone who's listened on a regular basis and knows Oliver and I went to high school together. He's one of my absolute dearest best friends, and he has been a diehard listener of this podcast. And I blame him. He started this wonderful tradition when he would listen to an episode, he would text me a really, oh, there it is. Number one fan. I'm going to have to get a Sharpie when I go to your house in February.
Too.
I'll put a question mark. Oliver would send me his little critique. And when I say critique, it was all positive, but this made me laugh. This, I learned this and that was really interesting, or I found this funny, whatever. And I enjoyed them so much. And then somewhere along the lines, I think this year mostly, he kind of stopped doing it. And then he got caught up and now he's behind several episodes. So I am teasing him because I haven't received any critiques. And along those lines, I'll say one more thing about number one fan. Before I got on here tonight with Oliver, I was watching Misery. So that's why it's pertinent too. I'm your number one fan.
I just watched Misery the other night because of Rob Reiner's passing, and one of your episodes that I did not review where you were talking about, I think it was the one where you were alone, that you were your own guest talking about some Rob Reiner reflections, and Misery is one of our favorites. We quote him all the time. So I am your number one fan. I was unemployed for a little bit trying to find a job, but so I think I caught up on your reviews then. But I promise something to look forward for 2026, a whole slew of reviews.
I kind of like my suggestion though. If it takes too long to do it, like jotting down notes or writing, you can just do a voice memo, because that would be cool. I get to hear your voice. You could just do just spill it all out, what you liked or what you didn't like or what you found interesting. Just just say it into your recorder.
I can go blah. You know how much I love to hear my voice. I can't stand listening to the sound of my own voice. So I apologize to all your wonderful listeners out there that have to bear this, but I will do that, or even voice to text, which I always enjoy your voice to text that I get, because you never know what you're going to get. What life is like, a box of chocolates. Life is like a voice text from Janine.
I love reading because I will read them over. Like if it's a business text, of course I'll, fix it. Or even on Facebook, if I post something and I do take time to do that, and I'll go back. And if I have an error in that Facebook, LinkedIn, anything, I will go back and fix it because that drives me nuts. But with you, I feel like, okay, we're such close friends. I just kind of do the talk to text. And then sometimes I'll sit there and look and go, oh, Jesus. And I'm like, no, I didn't mean a ham sandwich,
Just the other day, I said I speak Jim, and Jeanine is close to that, so I can interpret it 99% of the time. So
Yeah. Well, as we're talking about reflection, we mentioned Rob Reiner, and I did talk about that a few weeks ago. You're right, when it was just me talking, because I think it had just happened that he and his wife were murdered, and it is very sad. He was incredibly talented. And like you said, Misery is it's a great movie. And it's interesting that I loved that movie, but I didn't know until he died, when they were mentioning all of his credits. I didn't realize, or like I said, if I did, maybe I forgot. I always associated him with When Harry Met Sally, of course, All in the Family. But I did not realize, or like I said, I may have forgotten that he directed Misery. And I mean, Kathy Bates, now I'm laughing because, because my mom supposedly doesn't like her for whatever reason. And she's like, I have no real reason, but she won't watch the new Matlock anyway. Oh, I think she didn't like the fact that maybe I shouldn't even say this on here. Well, why is Matlock now a girl, a woman? I think that was mom's question. Anyway, Carol we'll leave Carol alone. But Kathy Bates and James Caan in that movie are just fantastic. Some of the lines are hilarious, and I don't know if I realized that he directed it. And it's just I had to watch it because I know you told me by text, I think yesterday, that it was on HBO, and I'm gonna have that for about one more week before I give up that subscription to save money. And I was like, I'm gonna watch it. So I literally watched it right before we hopped on here.
Yeah, I I'm not surprised that you didn't know his. Uh, she's such a strong character, and that's such a strong character, and she did such a great job, and she won the Oscar for that role. It the director gets, not surprising when you think of Misery, you think of Kathy Bates, Annie Wilkes, that whole character. But he had wonderful movies and other ones that when Harry Met Sally is a close one for us because we quote it all the time. And The American President and Misery were just added to HBO Max, and that's another one of my favorites. My mom loved that movie, so watching it the other day was like good memories of her watching it and what she liked and stuff. So, and that's
Is
what art
that
does, and that's what Rob Reiner.
I'm
He had great movies. So any artist director, whom whether you like it or not, or whether you know that's directed, they do influence your life. And it is sad when they're taken away, especially as tragically as him and his wife were. So.
Even though you're right, we don't always think of the director, but for what great movies they were, obviously he had to do a great job, right? I mean, I don't know much about directing, but the fact that the movie was so wonderful is, I say, to his credit as well, right?
Well, one of the jobs of a director, too, not to get all geeky, is bringing out a performance from an actor. So when someone, yes, it is the performer that's giving you that performance, but that director is pulling it out of them. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It depends on the actor and the relationship of the director and actor. But so that's one of their many jobs. So if you're thinking about the performances, because they're not on the screen, you sometimes forget about them. But just as important to the production as as the actors and as the screenwriter. I mean, the lighting, it all comes together. But the directors are sometimes behind the screen, unless they're famous, like Steven Spielberg. Although Rob Reiner was pretty well respected in Hollywood and had a good line of hits.
I think he had done now this okay, Stand By Me is another great movie that honestly again I did not realize he directed, but he did Spinal Tap, which I have not seen, and shame on me because I love Best in Show. I love those kind of movies, but I'd never watched it. But he did do, I think if I'm correct, Spinal Tap 2 was somewhat recent, maybe?
Yes, and he was actually promoting it in the fall.
Okay.
Was on a few
Okay.
talk shows and podcasts and things like that. So that is, as soon as you said that, I remembered that was his latest film, and that was obviously a sequel. What was it, 30, 40 years later? I don't
Mm,
know the
a
years, but
long time, yeah. Yeah.
so a great guy. One of my favorite parts of the Oscar telecast is the in memoriam, which a lot of people say that's a little odd, but it makes you look back of like all the great artists that we've lost, and it's because to me art is very that's like my feelings. I art, music, movies. That's my lifeline, and that's what soothes me and excites me. So that's always my favorite. Looking back, and you realize the talent that we lost this year
Yeah.
alone, but so tragically, it was sad.
Absolutely. That makes it even harder, when a person it's a violent way that he and his wife passed. Well, they didn't pass, they were murdered, let's say what it is. But we do have the beautiful memories from the art that he did create. And along those lines, just let's just share a couple other things from the year. Well, I want to get into, our lives, but some of the other arts. I know you're really big in the movies, but I do want to share, this isn't a movie, but it is a show that you recommended. And it actually, I think the third season probably came out in 2024, but because I'm late to the party, I just watched it. That Somebody Somewhere on HBO. It's over. I guess it's finished now after 3 seasons, but I just binged it over the past few weeks. And it was, oh my God, I could literally cry thinking about some of the tender moments in that. And it's done by the I guess you say Duplass brothers, Jay, and I think it's Mark Duplass. And I've seen him in some really bizarre, like he's done some very odd scary movies, which I've enjoyed. And he's, I think he had a small part in one of the Mindy Project, and I'm sure many other things, but those are the things I know Mark Duplass from. And I don't know if I am familiar with Jay Duplass, but anyway, Bridget Everett, I think, is the lead in that. And then who plays Joel? Is it Hiller or Hill?
Hiller, Jeff Hiller, I want to
Jeff
say, but
Hiller is that sounds right. Yeah.
that might be a little off, but I think he won the Emmy for it. And it was kind of a surprise that he won, but I'm glad you enjoyed the show because both my husband and I really liked it. And I say
It
my husband,
was
Jim, you know who.
yes. Yes, Annie, or also very similar to Janine. We're really realizing how alike I am to Jim. What did you say in the one text? I realized I married Janine.
Yes. Sometimes it's very true. You have
But
similar
I'm sorry, go ahead.
quirks. No, I was just saying similar quirks, similar characteristics, and I love you both. So there you go.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much because I love you too. I'm so glad you told me about that show though, because the gentleman who plays Joel, which is one of the lead characters, and we mentioned Jeff Hiller. We're not positive on the name, but he's the kind of guy that if you saw him, you'd be like, "Oh, I've seen him," because I had seen him in different roles. I want to say a couple Ryan Murphy productions, maybe American Horror Story, different things like that. Bridget Everett, I probably saw glimpses of her somewhere on YouTube or online, but I was not familiar with her otherwise in movies or anything like that. I love, and I like, I've gotten into like when I enjoy something, I like to read online what others are saying about it. And I don't mean others like, Jack Sprat sitting in his basement, 012, gun and ammo, kind of like, hey, well, I liked it because, or I hated it. I'm not interested in that. Sorry. But like what, what like Vulture or what like certain media are saying, just because I'm curious, like what the scuttlebutt is. Like, do other people enjoy it as much as I do or not? And I think with the one, and I forget which it might have been a BBC article, I forget what, but she made a point, which I thought was great about it, is that these are everyday people. They're not the shiny, glossy, like size 2 people. So, Bridget Everett in real life before this, she's known, I guess, for her maybe body comedy and cabaret. And I was not familiar with her, but she's a big girl. She's 6 feet tall and she's got some boobs on her. And I mean, she's a large woman. And then Joel, the character of Joel, played by that Jeff Hiller, like he's not exactly someone you'd be like, oh, he's a hottie. He's not a super attractive guy. He's kind of skinny and like pinkish skin, like so not someone that's Hollywood buff. You know what I mean? So it's like I liked the article said that these are real people, which you could tell that they are, but it's not just the fact of how they look. And again, this goes to your point, Oliver, of like the writing of it, the directing of it, the sets, everything. They're I have to say, I texted you and I said, I want to be friends with these two. Like their relationship, it reminded me of you because, here's this woman connecting with this guy it's like her, he's gay, but they're having the, great time. And I said, I hope you're not offended by that just because, oh, you're my gay friend, but you're my dear friend. And I loved their connection that they could say anything to each other and they really meant so much to each other. And they're, not to get too like whatever into it, but like the moments were so real and so tender and they just like you cared about them. And I think that's what they did a beautiful job with that. You really like, I cared about these people. Like I literally was like, I want to be friends with these characters.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that if I care about a character, even if the show jumps the shark, as they say, and goes off, if I still care about one character or 2 characters, I'll still want to continue with that show. What we loved about it was the writing and how real they were. And they weren't perfect people. They made mistakes. And there were times you're like, oh, why did they do that? But you still cared for them. And that says a lot about the writing and the performance. Because sometimes when someone does something, certain people, I won't name names, will leave the room and not come back because it's that attached to the like of the action and not the reason why the person did that or behaved that way. So there were times where you like cringe, like, why did she do that? Why did he do that? Say that, oh no, what's going to happen? You cared about them though, because their performance, the writing, and the way it was written, that they cared about each other, and you knew that, and you knew it was going to come. You knew it was going to be not a bow and package tied up neatly kind of ending, but just kind of like you can see their life going on as is. They're still going to have their ups and downs. Her and her sister's relationship was very toxic at times, and that kind of got like, I liked how that worked its way out as well. So it was a great show. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. So I want to say, if you're saying sometimes people storm out of the room, I know who you're talking about, and I know I can be like that person you're talking about, because I will be like, oh, this is stupid. But I will say, and I'm not defending myself or the other person you're talking about, but in this show, none of those moments, they didn't come near any of those types of moments because it was so well done. In
Yeah.
some shows, it's just like, well, this is just stupid. It's like, why is this happening? Or what? These people, it was to me so natural and so not the norm of what I liked is, and I think, again, referring to this article I read, that it's not that it is real. It's not that neatly tied up in a bow. She's going to do the right thing. She's going to say the right thing, or he's going to do the right thing. Like, they're real people, and it doesn't just have that happy ending. And, for folks listening, instead of just talking about it, I should tell you, if you do want to check out the show, I think it's also on maybe Amazon or Hulu or whatever. You can Google it and see Somebody Somewhere. Right now, it's definitely on HBO Max, and they're short episodes, so it's nice. Maybe 20 some minutes, 30, like a figure a 30-minute slot, a little less than that. But it's basically considered a comedy, but with drama, if you want to call it a dramedy. Very funny lines are in it. Very real people. This woman basically comes back to Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas, and to care for her sister who has cancer. Her sister passes, so we start the series when the sister's already passed, and she's in her home there. And then she has another sister. They don't quite get along. And then the father and mother have a farm. The mother is an alcoholic. And then, this character, Sammy, reconnects with someone from high school that I don't think they were really friends. They weren't enemies, but they didn't really know each other. And that's now her buddy. And they become really close, and it's really their relationship, but then of the sister and her relationship, the parents, and it's just handled really beautifully, all of the relationships and how they develop, and like especially Sammy, because it's about how she doesn't really love herself really in many ways because she's a bigger girl, and she doesn't feel like worthy of love. And honestly, it's just so beautifully done. And I think a lot of us can relate to that in the sense that we look at our imperfections and don't, and we cut ourselves down or whatever. And you see that in her, and it's so beautiful when she finally does find happiness. Like, and I don't want to give anything away, but like when you see her really let her guard down and just enjoy life and people and the friendships that she's forged, I just thought it was lovely. And I did read, and I don't know if you know this, Oliver, you probably do, that was somewhat autobiographical of her life, which I didn't realize. Bridget Everett.
I believe the sister passing away from cancer was correct, or is that incorrect?
That could be. I just know it said parts of it where she's from Manhattan, Kansas, and they said it was similar parts of that. I didn't get in too deep into which was, but that could be the one of the most primary important things that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not, I apologize, but I remember reading something about that, so I did know it was kind of loosely based, of course. And I love, not to make this whole episode about this show, but I loved how the character of who got her involved in the church, the main guy that we were talking about, what was his name?
Joel, yeah.
He almost idolized her and was like, "Oh, you were the best singer. I loved you." And like he seemed to have that love for her, and it took her a little bit. I liked how hers grew into it, where she almost went in kicking and screaming to this friendship, and it made her the better, I think, a better human because of that relationship. So I loved that. That was the part that I really liked the most. Like just his admiration of her before, when we're introduced, he already loves her. Like, he already has that idolizing her from when they were in high school. So it's a sweet, sweet show. And realistic and very well written, and I think worth the watch.
Yeah, definitely. And he liked her in high school because she has a beautiful voice. And in real life, like I said, she does sing cabaret, but she does have a very strong, very beautiful voice. So he knew that of her. And yeah, I think it was the episode where they have Thanksgiving dinner where I loved the line. I don't remember it, but she was just like, Joel, you're just such light about how he makes people happy and he's just a wonderful person. And it's also very, I don't want this to sound forced, or I don't know if I should even say it, but it's a very what do I want to say, LGBTQ forward, open. There's those topics because there's a
Sure.
character, Murray Hill is a character who's trans. And so there's that. It's not like, believe me, it's not forced. It's not like this heavy topic, but it's in there lightly, which is another lovely way of like not making it all this big to do, but it's there because it's real. And, you know, it's not like it's a big part of the story, but it's also there.
Yeah, and speaking as one of the members of the LGBTQ BLT community, um, and I can joke about that because I'm part of one. I joke because I make light of it, but it's good representation of like just normal everyday people like we are, not the stereotypes that we see, that we can be, can get swept away with sometimes, and just seeing a regular everyday normal couple that are together that happen to be man and man. I loved how his character was afraid to tell her about his relationship because how it would affect their relationship, and how he was so uptight and nervous about that. Like those are human feelings that everyone has, regardless of your sexuality. So I liked that the characters were written just as humans, because basically that's what we are, right?
The last point I'll make is I also liked how when he does, is it not Brad? Not Brad. Is that his husband's name or his boyfriend? The character who's been on Will and Grace, he's an actor who's been on many things. But I also liked how it touched upon, and again, I'm not part of the community, but I know like with religion, how church can also be very condemning, but some churches are not. Some are more open. And the whole idea of religion and how Joel was trying to had his place, but then kind of wasn't sure. And, you know, his boyfriend had a different life, right? Had children that he didn't get to see really too much because of the ex-wife. It was a high school sweetheart. So there's that, again, very real, like someone who he married his best friend, and he was gay, but maybe he didn't know it at the time or whatever. And then the whole idea of how religion plays a role. And, you know, it was just, again, very real, wonderful storyline, very sweet. I laughed a lot.
Familiar.
I know. And we've talked about this on the podcast, the role of church, you know, and how that influenced you as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, I think why I found it relatable to those little nuggets that were placed out there. Again, not the arc of the story or the show overall, just those little plot lines that are in there that really can impact a person watching it. And that's why representation matters. Storylines matter about certain things that you might not want to talk about or need to talk about. Having them out there, and then someone watching it saying, "I'm not the only one," or "I'm not abnormal. I'm normal," because I'm not the only one to go through this. So important writing, good writing.
Yeah. So. I want to see more of it. Honestly, I was just, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to make it all about that, but I was just so impressed with the show, and it really hit home. I was like, I love this. It's just so natural and just so
finally
real.
I recommended something where you didn't quit the first 15 minutes ago. Next.
Yeah, I tell you, and I've talked about this with Gab before on the podcast. I'm getting really bad, but yet I'm getting bad, but I want to back up for a minute here. And we could look at this as lack of patience, and we've talked about this, but again, I'm putting myself down like there's something wrong with me, but it doesn't have to be viewed that way. I feel like my tolerance or whatever is shifting for certain things, and that's actually okay. It's okay for my taste to change. It's okay for my priorities to change. And I think Gab even said this in response when we talked about it. She's like, you just want them to do not better because someone else might like it, but like for me, for my interest, maybe I'm like watching something going, this is a waste of my time. And that's okay. That's okay for me to say it. I mean, I'm not going to bash someone else for enjoying it, but it is okay for me to go, you know what? I don't want to watch this kind of stuff anymore, or I'm not interested, and it's okay. I don't have to sit here and wait for it to get good, in my opinion. But I find that that's happening so much more, and I can't really say why. I don't know if my attention span's changing or my interest is changing. I'll admit I probably am turning the channel maybe a little too early because sometimes things are slow to get started, but I'm tough anymore. I'll sit there and go, and again, there's, believe me, it has nothing to do with not having enough choices, right? When you have like even 3 or 4 streaming networks, it's enough. It's more than enough. But I'm like, yeah, nah, I don't know. And I'll start something for 5 minutes. I go, oh, no, thanks. I'll turn it off, but it's okay, and that's okay. I mean, my tastes don't have to be the same as somebody else's, and I'm not going to yuck somebody else's yum or vice versa. It's all good.
I like that. Yuck, someone else's yum. I
I
never
did
heard
not
that.
create that. I
Oh,
actually
okay.
heard it. It's funny. It's been out there into the zeitgeist, and I think I heard it from Tina first over a year
Oh,
ago, and I was like, I like that.
I like that too. And art is subjective, right? Everyone's one man's. Here's another cliche: one man's garbage is another man's gold, or whatever, however you want to quote that. Um, and what I've been doing lately is like movie. I'll make Jim sit down and watch a trailer to a movie, and say, "Are you interested in this?" And he'll know right away, yes or no. So I know in advance where I can watch something alone, or that's not going to happen for me. So I'm like, okay, I know right off the bat. Shows are a little bit different because you can watch a trailer, but you don't get. Sometimes it's difficult to get the vibe of it of a show. But I'm glad you liked it because when I do suggest something and you do like it, it makes me feel good, like something we can talk over, bond over, and know that you've watched it and we can relate to it the same, and it both made us happy, and that's really what we want, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But why don't you share some and then we'll get on to real life, but let's stick in the arts for a moment. That sounded
Or
funny. Let's stick in the arts.
stick it in the arts.
Let's stick it in the arts. Yeah. What were some things that made an impression on you this year? I know you're really into films, and I've been watching some of your Instagram posts about this is, your different reviews, but certain ones that you really would want people to check out.
Well, this is my favorite time of year because this is usually where the Oscar, quote unquote, the Oscar buzz titles come out. Not to say that some aren't glittered throughout the year, but this is usually they put them around Christmas time and such. So, like, I've been watching a lot of ones that are getting either nominated for a Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, or getting buzz for the Oscars. So, I've been watching a lot of movies. We went to see Wicked for Good. So that one I actually went out to the theater for because that was one that Jim wanted to see as well. And it was, I'm not a huge fan of that musical. But I thought when I saw the first movie, I thought they did an excellent job with it. And then Jim really enjoyed it. So we went to see that one. And that was a great movie. Um, Real quickly, we talked about TV show, but The Pit with, with Noah Wiley.
Loved it.
Oh, did you watch it? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Because that one's like a different. That one doesn't make you feel so as happy and so good at times, and it's very tense, but so well written, so well acted, and it's not something like we've seen it before a little bit. Like the premise isn't like, ooh, it's so original. Like because especially with Noah Wiley being it, and he was in ER, so you kind of get that ER vibe, and I believe it's by the same creators or
Mhm.
in that zeitgeist of you know producers or actors or whoever that were part of the same show, but so well done and such a riveting storyline. And even the characters that you're not supposed to like, you're just you can't wait to see what happens next. Like that when I don't binge much. I'll usually watch 1 or 2 episodes and then give it a day or two and then go back to it. That one was binged, and that was one of my
Yes.
favorites of the year.
I was thinking that one when you were talking because Tina had told me about that one. She had recommended that, and I don't think I had Max at the time or whatever. And I was like, I'll get Max for another month, whatever, and catch up on some things. And I watched one episode. I'm telling you, I'm not proud of saying it was a Saturday. I mean, it wasn't all done in that one day, but pretty damn close to like a few days because I was like, oh, I gotta watch the next one. I gotta watch the next. It was good. It was very good. Yeah.
And it's how it's written too. Like you want to see what happens next because I think it's done like in the vein of 24. Like it's like it's an hour episode is in like the next hour, so it's almost continuous. So well done. Season 2 starts January 2nd, I believe. So I'm looking forward to for that season. So, but that was a show that I really liked. Back to movies. There's so many that I really enjoyed Sinners. this year. I think that will get some Oscar nominations. Weapons, we've talked about that through text. I really enjoyed that one for for the director and who wrote it, his personal story behind it. Once you know that, and watching it again the second time, I think it's a better movie the second time. Not that it wasn't the first time, because I really enjoyed it the first time, but watching it again and knowing what happens, it's one of those movies that I think you pick up a little bit more the second time around. And Amy Madigan, I said it once when I first saw the movie. I said she's getting an Oscar for it. She's definitely going to get nominated, whether she wins or not. Who knows? It's a popularity contest. But she's fantastic in it, and I really liked that. So many
That
good
caused
movies
me
out.
to go down a rabbit hole of looking at. I think I told you that after watching it,
Yeah.
I had to I'm like, oh, I didn't know she was married to Ed Harris, and then like seeing the different movies she was in, like she was in Uncle Buck.
Well,
Not that
she's in one
that's
of my all-time favorite movies, Field of Dreams.
which I've never
Um,
seen.
Janine.
I know, Clutch the
Okay,
Pearls.
we'll have to. Did I do that? Yeah, I did. We'll have to address that next time, your next visit, because I own it. Um, and a Best Picture nominee from 1989, Kevin Costner. It's an excellent. If you love baseball, it's a fantastic movie. If you don't like baseball, it's a fantastic movie. It
If
really
you
is
build
good.
it, they will come.
See, you know the premise. um, so she's in that, but so it's a great. So there is last year Oscars was the first Oscars that I watched that I was not blown away by other pictures that were nominated for Best Picture or whatever. I didn't dislike them. I just didn't love them. And I remember watching them going, maybe I've lost my oomph for movies and for the Oscars. I'm more excited this year for it. I think there was a lot better films out there this year. And I'm excited for what's to come as far as the award season. So,
Yes,
yeah,
I always look to Oliver, and if you've listened to the podcast, you know Oliver's been on a few times. In fact, one of my very first full episode was with Oliver, and we did, and I should know this, shame on me for not knowing. Was it that first episode, or was it another one where we actually spent it just talking about movies?
it was the first one. And when I did that's when I was doing my movie a day blog, right? Was that 2020?
Yes, in fact, cue the music or something, or drum beats or something.
Dun, 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 bad music to cue.
Drum
You need happier music, right? Drum roll. That was good.
roll. Yes. In fact, I am, so I'm sorry, excuse the plug here in the middle of our conversation, but I am very excited about 2026 because in May, I will be celebrating 5 years of the podcast. And
Insert
yes,
fan noise. Yay. And that was 2021. So we were talking about 2020 when I did the blog, but 5 years. Wow.
yeah, I
Sunrise, sunset. Where does the time go?
I know, seriously. I'm going to give myself a little pat here. I'm very proud of the work. This is a passion project, and I'm thrilled that I have this opportunity to have women on every week, unless it's Oliver or another gentleman. It's typically women. That's kind of the mission or the goal. And I've had so many wonderful guests on over the past 5 years. I'm just really excited to celebrate the anniversary. And I also have, I don't want to give too many details away, but I'm working on some special things in the new year to kind of celebrate the 5 years, but also to continue the mission to educate, inform women about important issues and highlight women. So like I said, there's some things in the works that might take place here in Scranton in April. I won't give the details about that just yet, but I will plan throughout the year. I'm going to have a bunch of different things, and I might do a few things online and other things to just highlight and celebrate, but also, as I said, in addition to celebrate, not just to be like, whoa, yay me and yay 5 years, it's also going to be an opportunity to highlight other women and to educate women, inform them, inspire them, and entertain them, which is what this podcast is about. So,
First of all, there's nothing wrong with going, hey, yay, me, woohoo, 5 years, because that's a huge accomplishment. And you've done it flawlessly throughout the 5 years. And you've enlightened me with your guests that you have on. Thank you for allowing a penis to pop in every once in a while. Um, and I'm glad that it's mine.
a penis to pop in every once in a while. All the thoughts in my head.
Oh, my reviews when I did write them, they were, I've always learned something new. I've always been enlightened. I've always been touched or moved or simply laughed. And you do an excellent job by bringing in topics that I didn't think I would even be interested in, to be honest with you. Because when I'm reading the notes or you're telling me about it, well, who's going to be on, I'll be like, hmm. But there's
Yes.
always, yeah, no thanks.
Like me watching TV. Nah.
Next podcast. No, I always listen and I always do get something out of it. And I always joke about you and your producer, Tony, that you keep in your pocket. But it is only you doing this, and it's a passion project, and you feel that coming through the airways or however you listen to it. If you're watching on YouTube, you feel that when you're watching it or listening to it. So yes, it's okay to pat yourself in the back, toot your own horn, and celebrate just you, because it's a great accomplishment. 5 years sticking with something, not many people can say they do that, right?
Well, thank you. No,
You're
I do
welcome.
appreciate. I do appreciate that very much. As Tig Notaro once said somewhere, I read it. Hey, why not toot it? It's your horn. But I also want to take a moment to say really special thanks. And tonight was not necessarily, or this episode was not meant to necessarily be a look back through 5 years. But while we're talking about it, because I am super excited, that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to in 2026 is this 5 year celebration and doing things, like I said, to highlight that and to continue the mission of educating, informing, and inspiring. I want to thank Emily Hickok. Special shout out to her. She was my first paid sponsor because, I mean, it is still a passion project, and I was doing it, but then she came to me and said, hey, I like what you're doing, and I'm so grateful for her. She saw the value in the guests I was having every week and had the ability at the time to help and support it. So she was my very first podcast sponsor. Emily Hickok's Budget Through Life. So she was a friend. She was a listener first, actually, a listener of the podcast. We got talking, and I'm like, wow, she's very knowledgeable on helping people budget. And she became a guest. And then she said, hey, I'd like to sponsor your show. So she gave me the confidence to go, hey, you know what? This is something worth sponsoring. So let me try to get more sponsors. Gabby Lynn of Reinvented Threads. I'm so grateful. I've known Gabby for a long time. She is a beautiful soul. She makes wonderful, one of a kind items like handbags and cashmere beanies and scarves and all kinds of cool stuff. And Lisa Regau, who I had met in person, Healthy Lifestyle Management. She's a great speaker. She helps women. She helps all people, but she really does know a lot about women, about menopause, perimenopause, getting proper sleep, nutrition. She's very knowledgeable in all of those areas. I had her as a guest, and shortly after that, she reached out and said, I'd like to learn more about how to sponsor you. So I am so grateful. Oliver has been a patron sponsor. Scranton Girls Rock has sponsored. The John Malvisi Foundation has sponsored an episode. I'm probably I feel like I'm at an award show. If you're watching this,
The music's going to start playing you off.
Madison and Tyler, if you're watching this, go to bed. It's past your bedtime. No, but seriously, I'm probably forgetting, but my committed every week sponsors are Reinvented Threads and Healthy Lifestyle Management. And Emily Hickox is the one who really kicked all of this off. The other folks I mentioned, those were folks who sponsored an episode or did a patron sponsorship. So I think I covered everyone. I just want to say all of it matters. All of it makes a difference.
As Field of Dreams says, if you build it, they will come. And you're building this podcast, and you're going to get more and more, I bet. So I look forward to the next 5 years, especially the celebration of this year being 5 years. I think it's very exciting. I was thrilled that I got to meet Gabby in person, one of your sponsors, and see her wonderful work on display at what was it? Would you call that a craft show? Is that one?
Well, I would say, and I don't say this to sound pretentious, but there are craft shows, right? And where, you might make something out of popsicles and have popsicle ornaments, which are whimsical and cute, right? But then you have other shows that are more artisan markets, right? Where they're what's called juried. So you have to submit photos, and they have to be at a certain criteria you have to meet. And that's where we saw Gabby in Haverford. Yeah.
Lovely to meet her in person. I've seen her on Zoom before, and of course, listen to her when she's a guest on your podcast. So I love that. And I will shout out to Emily as well. Anyone that can speak that passionately and humorously and just entertainingly, if that's not a word, I just made it up, about money and finances. Like her episodes are always, you learn something, but it's also not dry. And like money can be a dry topic, right? those are always ones that I look forward to because I think she loves what she does. You can tell, and she talks about it so well that you always have great conversations with her.
Yeah, I would second that, not only to because I love her support of me and her confidence in me and in this show to support it, but her knowledge is it's just, and I've always said this, that's why it makes it easy when you have podcast sponsors that are people you know and who you mutually respect, because it makes it easy to do the ad because what, her knowledge, but also her ability, not everyone has, a lot of people have knowledge, right, and expertise, but they can't, not everyone can give that, disseminate that in a way that people can absorb easily. And Emily is one of those folks who can explain budgeting, credit, debt, how that impacts your life, and the difference between a need and a want, but also understanding that while it's important to not go outside your budget, you also can't stress yourself out because it becomes a mental health issue. So you have to look at, okay, I am going to treat myself with this $20 item this week, even though I quote unquote shouldn't. So she understands all of that. And she has a really great way when she's educating people about finances, how to do it in a way that they can understand it, it's relatable, and she can use humor. So yeah, I totally exclamation point second what you said, Oliver. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of, one of my shows that I loved of 2025 was your podcast and your episodes. I always look forward to them. They're always entertaining. Sometimes I listen to them twice, especially if my name is mentioned. I'm like, ooh, what did she say about me? And so I enjoy that. And I look forward to the next year and your celebration of it because it should be a celebration. So
thank you. Well,
you're
thank you
welcome.
very much. We kind of covered a couple things that I wanted to as far as looking ahead. And I do want to say, because of this time of year, you do tend to in December, it's just a natural thing. Not only do you see it all over media and social media and hear about it, but it is that time of year where you're like, okay, change of the calendar. And you do kind of want to look back, or you often reflect. And I've been doing that. When you do have a podcast, when you do what I do, have a business called Laugh to Live, and I have clients. I go out and I want, I get gigs, so to speak, where I speak at a conference or I do workshops for different, organizations, and I do comedy shows. When you have something to sell, I'll put it in a base level where you're selling, because we're all selling something. You're on social media to connect with people, but for them to know what you do and hopefully to buy it, to come to a comedy show, to listen to your podcast. So as I was reflecting, I was doing it. What I want to say is I was doing it for social media purposes. Like, okay, let me put out a post that kind of does do a reel that has like the highlights of my stand-up comedy, the highlights of my laughter yoga, Laugh to Live, and kind of putting all the photos together into like a video, just to, end of the year kind of highlights. And I have to say, and I'm going to do what I just said. I'm going to try not to say it the same way, like, oh, I shouldn't pat myself on the back. But I was just, I don't want to say impressed. I was surprised at how much I did do over the past year. And it was funny how time works. And I know Gab Benesso and I have talked about this, where she's like, time doesn't exist. And, she can get into the whole metaphysics of it. But like, time is so funny because as I was scrolling back through my photos on my phone in January, I'm like, oh my God, that was this year. I thought it was 2024, and I couldn't believe it, but it really was a full year, one that I'm proud of, but one that I'm really, I can easily scroll through those photos and instantly feel warm and fuzzy and happy because of so many wonderful things. I mean, the laughter yoga I've shared with United Neighborhood Centers, Scranton Counseling Center, their clients with mental illness, their staff, with, social workers in Lehigh Valley, all these different folks that I shared laughter with, stand-up comedy shows, ones that I produced, ones that other people produced who invited me on their shows, the guests I've had on this show. As I scroll back, I'm like, wow, I can just sit in the moment and savor the connections I've had. And I've spoken about this, in the past, how I know my guests, because I think connection is so important. And this could make me emotional because I'm worried about how fractured we are, not just because of negativity and divisiveness, but because of devices. So devices and divisiveness. And we really do need one another. And I love the connections. I love being out in the community. I love talking with people who have shared interests and highlighting the good. I won't go on about this too much, but I guess I just want to make a couple points and then I'll go over to you, Oliver, and ask what you're looking forward to and some of your highlights. In addition to looking forward to the 5 year anniversary, I should also share that I will be celebrating 20 years in August of starting my business, Laugh to Live. I created that LLC, which is basically just paperwork, a limited liability corporation, a single LLC, which is meaning it's me. I started that in August of 2006. I cannot believe it will be 20 years this summer. So 20 years of that, 5 years of my podcast. I'm incredibly proud. But I will also say that I'm still hopeful in humanity and it's important. Couple points, like I said, I just want to make social media can be tricky. So be careful how you navigate that. I say this not just to lecture because I need to remember it myself, but I'll scroll through and I'll see people like comments just the other day that triggered me. Scranton's a shithole, or, all these different comments. Some of them are bots that are not real accounts and they just, make comments to get people to argue because keep in mind, folks, if America's divided, it's to certain countries' benefits. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial, but it's just true. There's a certain reason to control people and to manipulate. But the people who are unhappy with themselves are not going to be happy with anything or anywhere. So they put these comments and be careful not to get inflamed or to respond. And that's where I'll just, this does tie together, believe it or not. I'm trying not to be all over the place, but my podcast sponsor, Lisa Regau, talks about being in the moment and being intentional. And I've been talking about that mostly with myself over the past year, and I haven't done as well with it as I would like. When we are intentional with every part of our lives, it's better for us. Being intentional with, okay, I'm going to be on social media to promote my upcoming comedy show, maybe scroll for 10 minutes, and then that's it. Being intentional, not reacting to seeing something that I don't like, but responding, which is, I don't have to react. I don't need to comment. I am going to get out of the Facebook app. I am going to set my phone down and instead I'm going to deep breathe, or instead I'm going to go outside for a walk. So being intentional, being in the moment, those are important things. But the positivity, focusing on the positive, because some people just want to continue to focus on the negative. If we focus on the positive, then our mindset will shift, and that's important. And the other thing, and then I'll go to you, Oliver. Kindness. I met this woman. I was going into CVS to pick up a prescription, and the doors are like accordion style. They open, and there's room probably to fit through, without bumping the other person. But I wanted to make sure she had room. This older woman who was pushing a shopping cart. So I kind of stepped to the right to let her go through and kind of like just, had my hands back to say, go ahead. And she said, kindness. Wow. And it was literally how she said it like that. It was so animated. In hindsight, I want to laugh, but in the moment I was kind of taken aback because I'm like, I think I just kind of paused and I'm thinking, wow, that's kind of sad. This woman is so not used to seeing acts of kindness that she literally was like, kindness, wow. And that's, I mean, I've said things about this on Instagram, and I'll just say we can absolutely be doing that is a simple act. All I did was kind of move to make sure she had room to get out. Wow, how basic is that? And unfortunately out there right now, there's a lot of folks who are either too busy, too caught up. Maybe we could say too busy. And I say that tongue in cheek because there is no too busy. We're not being intentional, right? We are letting the story run in our heads about what we need to do. So we're not present. We're not being intentional. So we're not being aware that there are other people in the universe, right? So I think that's part of the problem. And of course, there are assholes out there too who are just acting like assholes. That happens. But I mean, the fact that she was so shocked by it is a little disappointing and sad to me. And I think we can all do better, including myself. So I just wanted to share that. But I am super pumped for the year ahead. And I am so grateful for so much joy and beauty and people in my life.
Kindness. Wow. That's going to be a 2026 thing. We're just going to change that word and just saying wow after it. I feel that. I feel like it's in the universe. What did you say when I was talking about Emily putting an exclamation point after everything that you said? As you know, I'm a more of an introvert as far as getting out and meeting people and getting out in the community, but I'm also not an ignorant human being, and I realize the importance of it. 2025 was an interesting year. I wouldn't say it was a bad year, but there was a lot of changes. It was 5 years since my mom passed away. There was a lot of heaviness throughout. We moved from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. I was unemployed for 6 months, 5 or 6 months. So so it had its trying times, but you make it through. Like you just stay positive. I try to avoid the negative. Like with social media, as you know, I've kind of X'd my way out of social media. I'm still on a few things. I still have a few accounts out there, and I know of the news. I'm not ignorant to what's going on around me, but I do try to focus on the positive and change the things that I can change. That's in my being and my shoes can walk and do something for the positive. I'll do that. I'm not going to worry about the stuff that's out of my control. Easier said than done because we all fall down that rabbit hole of angst and anger and how did this happen or whatever the circumstance may be. But again, easier said than done. But I do try to stay focused on the positive or not say anything at all. Is and going back to my mother, that was always her thing. Like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And she lived by that for the most part. She was always, quiet over in the corner, and you knew she was thinking of certain things. It was a decent year. It was a lot full of change, but they were all for the positive. And I feel like that the momentum of the things that have happened at the end of the past few months are going to swing into 2026 and stay positive, stay open. Life is so short. Like, I can't believe that we've known each other since we were 14 years old. And to me, I was just watching Madonna's Who's That Girl tour because that's how I roll. And we saw that together in Philadelphia, Veterans Stadium, row 33.
Oh my God.
July 11th or July 10th, excuse me, 1987. Like to me, it was yesterday. Like, so not to sound like Grandpa Jones and be like, oh, I remember going to school with tennis rackets on my feet to get up the snow hill. It wasn't that bad. That's what my grandfather used to tell that story. That's why I equated to that. He'd always talk about the snow storms they would have, and he'd put tennis rackets on his feet and walk up. Now, whether he did or not, I have no idea, but I remember that. Anyway, like how time goes by so quickly, and we all spend it probably too much time on the negative because we're humans and that's how we're built, kind of. But just keeping that idea of whatever Gab says about the time and space continuum or all that, it's so true. Like in a blink of an eye, it's just like, I can't believe my mom passed away 5 years ago, or we've known each other since we were 14 and we're now 54. Like that's crazy. So try to just stay focused on, you never know when things are going to change. Like a light switch, flips on and your life gets altered a little bit. You just have to take it with a grain of salt and ask for help, have a good support system. And thank you for being that support system for me throughout these years. That have those people around you that know you and care about you, can tell you when you're crazy. Like Oliver, you in danger, girl. So you need those people around you. And stay focused, stay on your track. And if you feel like you're falling off the track, reach out to someone, because you're not in it alone. You have friends, you have family. And if you don't, there's community out there. There's help out there for you. So not to get all somber on it, but I think we forget about mental health a lot in our society. We kind of brush that aside, and it should be talked about a little bit more. So just be there for one another. And if you know someone that's hurting, it's okay to reach out. It's okay to send that text. I'll make sure I reach out to Janine at least, I don't know, once a week, probably more so, but it'll just be like, hey, checking in, because, I am literally checking in and want to know how she's doing. So it's okay to do that with your friends and family, and just be there for one another.
Because of, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, is one of my marketing clients. And so I kind of feel like a special connection. So I'm in tune, but yeah, you're right. It does need to be talked about more. And to your point, there's actually, I listened to the Happiness Lab podcast, and there was a story on there, the gentleman from England who had kind of a mini campaign. If you Google it, I think it's Just Send the Text, because it's a story of a man in England who was sitting at home. He literally was having suicidal ideations, and someone, I don't know if it was a close friend or just a colleague or somebody, reached out and said, like, meet at the pub for a beer. Like, it was literally something like that. And he said it saved his life. because he met him at the pub and he was like, okay, I won't do anything today.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
started the just send the text, and people get caught up in the weeds about, but what should I say? How about thinking of you? Literally, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That's beautiful. I love that. I love that idea. You know, fall on your art, fall on your music, your movies, whatever makes you happy, whether it's cars or movies or shoes, like fall into that, lean on to things that you love that you know that can bring you out of it. Because that's very important. Um, that I love that idea. That's beautiful. And I I found myself getting more emotional as I get older. I don't know if that's just
Me too.
age or if it's just who knows what it is, but like,
Wisdom.
is it wisdom? Is
I
it
think it's wisdom. Yeah.
okay? Like I can cry at a drop of a hat now. Watch it. I can always cry during movies, like movies and like. But if I hear a song now, like if I watch a reaction video or a 5 minute thing or hearing a story like that, I'll be bawling my eyes out. I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I feel that it is because it's cathartic for me. Like I can get it out of my system, and feel like I feel emotionally attached to people, human. So maybe that's my human connection. I may not go out and um, meet people in the community and go to the pub for a open mic night here, but I do enjoy like that connection through my art, my internet, whatever. One other thing I forgot to mention, and the most important thing is 2025 was the first time that I saw Janine Luby, aka Funny Wine Girl, or vice versa, perform live stand up. And that was very exciting to me to see her, because I've been seeing her through videos all these years, but this was the first time I was live in an audience with my dad. The two Ollies were there.
Who was looking hot, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's going to change for 2026. No calling my dad hot, or
Hey,
my son.
I just calls them as I sees them.
Okay, settle down there, hormone girl. So that was very exciting to see you perform live for the first time, in an audience, seeing you do what you do best, one of the things that you do best, and just making other people happy and laughing. And I loved that. It was great. So that was a highlight of me, to finally see you in person performing. And I hope to do many, many more in 2026.
Well, thank you. That was fun. That was at the Wisecrackers at the casino. It was the best of. It was like Nipa's best of or whatever the heck. And yes, you got there early so I could bounce playing some different joke punchlines. I like to bounce them off of Oliver usually, and sometimes I'll do it by text. And sometimes it's hard because I'm like, okay, I hope that made some kind of sense because I'm thinking about this, but then I'll put the emphasis on that and blah blah blah. But yeah, I remember I was trying out a few jokes there, and I shared some other things that we won't get into in the podcast. How I broke up with some guy who had taken me to the Rustic Kitchen there after I found something out about him, but I don't want to get boycotted, so we're not going to get into that.
We won't mention that, will we?
No, we will not.
No, we will not. But no, it was lovely to see you perform and be so comfortable on the stage, which that impressed me the most. Not that I didn't think you were not going to be. You just put the audience at ease, and I wasn't nervous for you. You just have a very good presence on the stage, and you're actually funny.
I'm actually funny. I've
Actually
heard
funny.
that before. I'm actually funny. You're second man
funny.
to tell me that.
Am I? Of course. No, you're very funny, and you know that I think that of you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all that. So a couple things I didn't want to break your flow there, but you mentioned Who's That Girl tour. And I'm sure I've shared this with you because, of course, I would have told you. But remember back then, when the movie was coming out, my parents and I and another person we went to high school with, Cheryl, who I was friends with at the time, we were staying at the Marriott Marquis in the Times Square. And it was, I guess, the premiere of her movie, or they were showing it, there. And it was a special event. So she and a gentleman who was in the movie, Griffin Dunn, I believe, right? That was him.
Right.
They were like in Times Square being like interviewed, or like they were going to say a few words, and everybody was like, screaming. And we didn't stay down there. And then, of course, later, I think we were sorry we didn't, but we were looking out our window from like, God knows, the 32nd floor or whatever floor, looking down, but we could still see them. They look like little tiny
You took a
ants.
picture of her for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember that.
Yeah, that was the premiere in the middle of Times Square because she told a story about how when she first got to New York, she asked the taxi driver to drop her off in the middle of anywhere, and she dropped me off in Times Square. And here I am promoting my movie, blah blah blah. So yes, that's that is. I remember the picture. And the picture was literally just a blur of lots of people and a little blonde dot, and that was her.
Well, you could kind of see the little square where they were standing, I think,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something, the special
yeah,
stage or whatever. But yeah.
and
And
yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that movie is, of course, it flopped and people hated it, but I loved it and went to the movie theater with my mom to see it.
Aw,
And we
Chrissy.
laughed. And to this day, it's one of my favorite movies,
Aw, see that
just because it's
again.
silly. It's funny.
To come full circle, the arts are great. And to come full
Yeah,
circle, not to go back to somebody somewhere, but like Oliver made a really good point, having those people in your life who get you, who you
yeah,
have as your support system, and that who you are there for, vice versa. And that's, that beautiful relationship we talked about before in that show, that somebody somewhere, that's definitely worth checking out. I do want to say, you talked about focus. We both kind of said focus on the positive. I'm going to share, and then we'll start wrapping up here. One of my pet
are we going to
peeves.
wrap up, Janine?
We are going to wrap up because Oliver pointed out to me in a couple of my episodes. I was like, all right, so we're going to start wrapping up, and then fast forward 40 minutes later. Okay, we're wrapping up here. I guess I tend
I'm
to
just
say that
joking.
sometimes. One of my pet peeves, and you're going to start to notice this, or maybe you won't, but maybe you will now because I'm saying it. But I'm sorry. It kind of irks me because it's the time of year and maybe it's habit. And we said earlier, people tend to, it is human nature to focus on the negative. And there's actually, I did have someone on the podcast, not this year, I want to say in 2024, Maria Conigliaro, who is a neuroscience coach. And I've read this before. We've probably all heard it before. It is human nature to focus on the negative because we focus on what scares us or what frightens us. It's that fight or flight. It's how we are hardwired. So it's from back in caveman times, and we just haven't transcended that, I guess. It's like back in those days when you're running from, they always use the example of you're running from a tiger or a lion. Of course, you're focused on the shit that's going down, like the negative, because you're like, oh my God. But that's what we tend to give our energy to, but we are now no longer running from lions for the most part, unless you're in this on the safari or whatever, or in a zoo. You're not typically running from lions anymore, so things are not that tragic usually at the moment, but we're kind of hardwired to want to protect ourselves. But the end of the year comes, and this is where I kind of get a kick out of, not a kick because I'm a sadist, but it's just interesting to me how everyone, you'll see the memes now about what a dumpster fire 2025 was, and oh, what a horrible year, what a horrible year, what a horrible year. And I do find it funny because it's literally that I see the same thing every year, and I'm thinking to myself, was your whole year a shit show? And I don't mean to judge, but I say some of these people are the same people that were posting about like a beach vacation in the summer and like these beautiful photos of them with their kids and going on the boardwalk or whatever, but yet the whole year was a dumpster fire. And this is something I talked about earlier about like focusing on the positive and like the hyperboles, how we're like, oh, it was such a horrible year. But it does take practice. And I think I've done a pretty good job through the years of focusing on the positive. So like I've yet to say, oh, that was a horrible year, because I've never felt that. But since COVID, it seems like every year people are like, oh, this is God, I can't wait till the new year. I can't, and it's, I don't want to go too deep or too lectury on that, but as we all know, if you listen to Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, you can't go, oh, well, once we turn the page and we get into the new year, that's when it's going to get better. But if happiness is always in the future, when you get the new car, when you get the new job, when you lose 30 pounds, when you take that trip to France, when you meet your, whatever it is, then you never have it. Because if it's always in front of you, the carrot that's dangled, you're never going to have it. So you need to be like, now is when you have the happy and you feel the happy and you make the happy. So again, that's just my little pet peeve. And I do want to say, not that I'm Pollyanna, whatever, but I've had some issues this year that have changed my life. My dad's health has changed, and that has been a very big change for obviously him. God love him. His life has changed. He's not going to work out at the YMCA anymore. He's not currently driving. So his life has changed. His illness and his doctor's appointments and all that, that has changed, and that has become a big part of our lives, my mom's life, my life. And I'm not here to say, for anyone out there listening that goes, well, sure, you could say it's not the worst year, but I've had this, I've had that. And it's not a pissing contest about whose life is worse or whatever. It has been incredibly stressful. things have changed for all of us, and it does get very, I do get upset, I get resentful, I get a lot of different emotions at times, but I can still tell you, and again, I don't mean to lecture, I'm just saying I'm hoping this is meant to provide more hope, or for you to maybe shift perhaps some thinking, not meant to be a lecture at all, I swear to you. But even through all of that, I am still, and maybe because I am blessed and other people might be going through so much more. Again, it's not a comparison. I am still so happy and blessed that I do have my father. So he has an illness, but we just played chess a few days ago, and he still loves beating me, because I don't let him win. He's beating all on his own. We spent time with dear friends on Christmas Eve. I still have him. I still have my mom, and I am grateful, and I will be happy for every all our stupid jokes that I make in the car to try and lift people, lift his spirits or my mom's spirits, or my little sarcastic comments, or whatever it is we have together. I am grateful for them. I am grateful for friends. I am grateful for nature. I was outside today walking in the snow at Lake Scranton, and I don't want to sound all hippy dippy or granola crunchy, although there's nothing wrong with that. Literally touching the bark on a tree. I'm not joking you. Setting my hand there for a few seconds brought me peace. So my point, I guess, in all of that long ramble is just really try to find what does fill you up with joy or peace or tranquility, even if it's just for like a few minutes a day, because it definitely can have an important impact. So as I close now, I will give you the last word there, Oliver. You look like you're leaning out of your chair.
Oh, I'm rocking in my new chair that I bought in 2025.
Nice.
Happiness lies in your own hand. There's a Madonna quote for you, lyric. And it's true. We're all going to have those bad days. We're all going to have those gripes, and it's okay to vent those out. But it's really what you make of it and how you look at things. And life's going to throw rocks and sticks and stones at you. And it's what you do to kind of, like we talked about earlier, like use your resources that you have to get out of it and focus on the positivity. You know, I quote Madonna in movies and listen to music and talk to you, and that's what takes me out. And you said that you don't mean to lecture. You're not lecturing anyone here. You're speaking the truth. And if one person that listens to this gets something out of it, then you did your job. But it's not a lecture. You're just speaking your truth and hoping that someone can learn from it and take something from it. And the last thing I'll say is I'm never going to touch a tree bark on a walk. But
I
that's just
know
me.
you're going to get on a roller coaster.
Exactly. I'm gonna ride a roller coaster and scream and laugh, and that's an example of we all have different things that make us happy. Do them, and it's okay. Like am I gonna make fun of Janine because she touched a tree? Absolutely, but only in jest, not the fact that she did it and it makes her happy. Because that I want Janine happy, and if touching a tree, even saying that makes me giggle. If touching a tree makes her happy, then damn it, touch a tree.
And there is much research and science to back it up, hence me taking a forest therapy certification course. So as we know, there's actually literally things in the trees that is good for us. So yeah, but no, and I mean, yeah, when people talk about tree huggers, and it's supposed to be like years ago, oh, you're a tree hugger, like it's an insult. I'm like, the fuck I am. Yes, I am a tree hugger, and it feels so damn good.
Yeah, and I say hug as many trees as you want.
Yes.
I
And you
support you.
ride as many coasters as you want. I will be
I will.
waiting on the bench, slurping a lemonade, holding your
Like
bag,
I
your
was
Madonna
walking with
bag.
you on a trail here a couple months ago.
Yes.
Yeah. See, and that's what friends do. We support each other.
Yes. Yes. And I was grateful for that. We did a little walk on parts of the Wissahickon Trail.
God bless
Love
you.
I love that name, Wissahickon. Yeah.
Yes. So be who you are, be happy, and spread the joy and try the best. And if you don't have any joy, call Janine or I and we'll cheer you up.
Sure, sure. But
Why
my
not?
number's unlisted. No, I'm just kidding.
So is mine. No one's getting my
Mine's
number.
actually all over the place, probably. Yeah.
Send me an email.
Send me an email. No, definitely. You know what? Again, nothing, it could all sound cliche, and there's nothing that makes life easy. I always talk about that with my laughter therapy, my laughter yoga classes. The thing is, it does not take away your problems. Of course not. It is just another resource. Laughter, like a roller coaster ride or touching a tree, all of that stuff. These are just tools. They're resources that can help us get through our problems. And that's what it takes. There's always going to be stress and problems in our lives because that's it. But taking the moments, finding the joy where you feel it, and that's up to you where you feel it. It doesn't have to be where someone else feels it. Wherever you feel it, I like to add, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, as long as
Or
your
yourself.
joy is, yeah, yourself, or as long as your joy isn't tripping people, downstairs or something.
Or
Although, as funny as that is, it's not very
as I
nice.
laugh, you're right. It's not very nice, but people falling, I do watch those videos.
Right, right. You know what I'm saying,
I
though. As
do know.
long as you're not harming anyone, then do
Yes.
you. Do you. That's the main thing. So thank you, Oliver, for sharing this time with me this evening. I selfishly, just like with Gab Benesso, selfishly, when I record, it's also because I love the person and not that I don't enjoy all of my guests. I do, but like Gab and I have become friendly and just like we just love talking and we could talk for hours. You and I have known each other for 40 years and I love you. And so I love this opportunity where we can just chit chat. So thank you for having the time and sharing it with me this evening. And I hope you have a very good 2026. And I will be sharing, I know already, we're going to see Fortune Feimster together in February. And I can't wait to laugh with you and Jim.
Yes, it'll be great. Nothing but the best 2026 to you and to your family. Kennywood 2026. Shout out to Gab. That's a possibility. And nothing but the best. And I can't wait to celebrate 5 years of your podcast again. So whatever help you need, I'm there for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you if you guys, the listeners here, it's, I don't know if you hung in there or not, and that's okay because, hey, if you didn't, then you're not hearing me say this right now. But if you are listening still, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed our chit chat. Again, it's a very casual conversation, but I know there's some nuggets in there that are relatable and I believe meaningful. So hopefully you've gathered that and enjoyed it. I am super excited. Again, I know I can't help but say it. 2026, I'm going to manifest it, and that makes me think of that show again. Somebody somewhere, manifest, manifest, manifest. I'm going to manifest that. But celebrating 20 years of Laugh to Live, 5 years of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. Thank you to anyone and everyone who's ever believed in this and contributed, whether it's Laugh to Live or the podcast. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the year ahead, all of the wonderful conversations that will be had here, and so that you can be informed, be inspired, and be entertained, because that's what it's all for. So thank you for listening. Have a wonderful, happy new year. And I hope for the best for you in this coming year. And I hope you'll keep listening. As I say each week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.